Hey everyone, Simon here. So I'm making this video as an add-on to the video I just made about Ardra Nakshatra because I realized that I forgot to talk about potential remedies and some other facets of Ardra Nakshatra, but mainly remedies. So first, let's begin with a little error on my part, which is that the Yoga Tara is not at 6 Gemini sidereal. It's actually at 5 Gemini and actually a little bit less, about a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes or so before 5 degrees. So my mistake there, I looked it up, and a site you can go to is called Constellation of Words, which lists all of the main fixed stars, like Regulus, the heart of the lion, which I confuse with Regulus is at 6 degrees Leo, Ardra is at 5 degrees Gemini, and I flip those sometimes. However, here on this site, they use the tropical. So an easy rule of thumb to convert to the Vedic is add 6 degrees to the tropical and subtract a sign. So here you see longitude of 29, 50. So add 6 degrees to that, you get 550 of Virgo, and then go back a sign, and it's 550 Leo. The Tara of Betelgeuse is at, you can see here, 2845 Gemini. So add 6 degrees to get to that, you get about 445 Taurus, go back a sign. 445 Cancer, go back a sign, 445 Gemini. So Ardha Tara, 5 degrees Gemini, rounded up. So let's take a look at then some of the remedies, remedial measures one can institute to get the most out of Ardra Nakshatra. And to understand remedial measures, you have to understand at what level the affliction is playing at. You never end a sentence with a preposition, right? And yet you do. So at what level is the affliction? Is it the level of the physical of the body? Everything from the skin in, meaning physical ailments, disease, that kind of thing. Is it the level of the skin out, having to do with your environment, meaning you have a hard time getting married? Do you have a hard time finding the right job? Do you have a hard time with your family? This is a big area of influence. Or is it a spiritual thing? Is it a sense of depression that you can't, it's not really physical or even environmental? Is it a curse, if you will? This term curse is used a lot in the scriptures, in the Jyotish Shastra, that relates to, in a sense, a divine, something that needs a divine remedy. So let's talk about the first level, which is the level of the body. And one of the traditional remedies for Ardra specifically, given that Ardra is in the yoni of Ardra Nakshatra is a female dog, is to feed a dog, to feed especially a stray dog. So anytime you are doing a remedy where you're feeding another being, you want to feed someone or an animal that can't feed itself. So if you're buying your wife dinner or your husband dinner, that doesn't count. If you're feeding your kids, that doesn't count. You're already supposed to do that. It's going that extra mile and feeding those who cannot take care of themselves. Okay. So this is a classic remedy for Ardra Nakshatra. So find a stray dog and develop a relationship with it. Now, some strays aren't as cute as this one. They bite. So be careful. You know, this isn't a joke. But find a stray animal and take care of it. And by the way, there are a number of ways to choose. If you can't do this every day, you can do this on particular days of the week. Saturday is one because it relates to Rahu, which is the ruler of this nakshatra. But if you want to find the day based on your chart, you can find the pada of the 6th house. and look at the ruler of that sign. What do I mean by that? Here is an example chart. Oh, and by the way, to show you I'm doing this real time, look at what a badass I am. Do you see what's rising here? Hold on, let me show you the South Indian chart too. Do you see the ascendant, people? You see what time it is? It's midnight practically. And yes, the Yoga Tara of Ardra is rising on the horizon, except there are clouds on the horizon, so I can't really see it, but that's appropriate. So at this moment, the Yoga Tara of Ardra is rising in the sky. So, of course, I did this deliberately. So to find the pada of the sixth house, I talk about this technique in my class, Secrets of Sacred Sound, in a number of other classes, which if you're interested in, go to my website, spirittype.com. You'll see a list of all the classes I offer. We go into this much more in depth than I'm going to go into here, but here's a basic technique. The ruler of the sixth house in your chart, see how many houses it is away from the sixth. So in this case, it is 1, 2, 3. The ruler is Mars, 3 away. And then count that many from it. So 1, 2, 3. Take the ruler of that sign and find the day that it presides over. So the pada of this, the sixth pada is Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter, therefore Thursdays. So for this person, for this chart, they would want to feed others on a Thursday. Okay? Now, there are a couple of exceptions when the pada falls in the 7th house or in the same house or in the 10th. You can choose to use those exceptions. Those of you who know what those are know what I'm talking about. Or you could just stick with the regular pada method, counting as many away from that house and then taking the ruler and doing your upaya of feeding other beings on that day. Now, you can feed other people, which if you're doing this, the remedy is Ardra, feed a stray dog, or feed stray people, people who are homeless, people who are outcasts in society. This also works. Find what is around you and what comes to you. The remedy that comes to you is the best remedy. The remedy that finds you is what needs you. This is Dharma. You don't have to, fly to India to go visit a Bhairav temple, which you can as an upaya. But Bhairav is right in your backyard. If you look at go to the slum in your city and you will find Bhairav there. So that's one remedy. By the way, if you don't have the sixth pada of your chart or whatever, just do it whenever you can. Do it as often as you can. Do it every day. Do it every other day. But try to create some consistency. And if you want to find just one day a week, practice this method of feeding other beings on the sixth pada, and it will change your life. Why? Because when you fill the need of another being, you yourself are filled. That gratitude that you get, now, whether it's an animal or another human being, they don't have to say thank you. That gratitude and contentment that they feel when they are fed something good, it affects you. And if you're missing love in your life, you'll get love. If you're missing health in your life, you'll be filled with health. If you're missing, professional success, then you'll get filled with the thing that you feel empty is empty in your life by helping to fill others. So, and if it's people who are homeless and you're vegetarian, they're probably not vegetarian. You may have to give them meat. Because they need protein. They need, food with substance. You may have to give them, they may like Coca-Cola, or they may like Ensure shakes, or whatever it is that works for you. But give them what they want, not what you think they should eat, right? Anyway, I won't belabor this point, but give them what they would want to eat, not what you think they should eat. So feeding a stray dog, stray animal, or even a stray person. Now, you can also observe a type of fast or discipline on the day that the moon is in Ardra. So once a month, you fast. Just as Rudra observes penance, you too observe penance. Remove something from your life, a comfort from your life during that day. Maybe don't eat, or eat, during a certain time of day, or limit yourself. Okay. So these are things to do on the physical level, feeding other people or abstaining from food yourself. I'm going to skip the environmental for a moment and go to the spiritual. Since it is Rudra, practicing and reciting the Shri Rudram, right, is certainly appropriate, and which takes about 45 minutes or so, or or sometimes longer, to recite. This is the old, powerful hymn from the Vedas, the Shri Rudram. If you can't recite it yourself, listen to it. Put it on YouTube or something and listen to it. Or alternately, have a priest perform that puja where they are doing the full ceremony while chanting the Rudram, preferably with many other priests. The more priests that chant it, the more powerful it becomes. If you can't do the Rudram, then do the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, which is the essence of the Shri Rudram. This mantra, Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Miva Bandhanam Mrityor Mukshiyamamratat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Miva Bandhanam Mrityor Mukshiyamamratat. 108 times every day. Preferably do it at twilight, after sunset, because this is Rahu time. This is a powerful mantra. You do it 108 times every day, it builds up a certain momentum. Such a momentum that even when you recite it once, you put your hand on someone's back who is in sorrow and suffering, you recite that mantra even silently, and you're able to project that vibration, that power, into the person for whom you're chanting it, or chant it for yourself. This mantra is part of the Shri Rudram, and it in essence encapsulates what you are asking for from Shiva. Om Triambakam, O you three-eyed one, Yajamahe, we worship you. Sugandhi, you who have a sweet fragrance. This is powerful because Rudra doesn't shower. Think about it. Shiva is in the graveyard, smeared with ash, and yet he is sweetly fragrant. This is because he is inherently pure and sattvic, and that radiates from him. Sugandhi, who smells sweet, su, good. Pushti Vardhanam, whose pushti is growth, Vardhanam is increase, or nourish, who increases our nourishment. Urvarukam iva, like a cucumber or a squash from a vine. Bandhanat, the ta becomes na before ma. Bandhanan, like a cucumber from the vine. Mrityoho mukshiya ma amritat, releases from death, but not from immortality. So let us enjoy growth, the good things in life, amrita, the sweetness of life, and release us from the suffering of death. Anyway, I'm sure you guys know this mantra. Practice it 108 times a day. Build it up. This is a wonderful spiritual remedy at the spiritual level for Ardra Nakshatra. All right. And then comes the one where there is the most room and perhaps the most difficult, which is the level of the environment. The level of the environment, essentially, one of the means, healing your relationships, finding the best job, finding your place in the world. And to do that, you have to follow and fulfill the Dharma of the outsider, because Ardra people tend to be outsiders. What is the Dharma of the outsider? During the first part of their life, Their dharma is to find freedom, to free themselves from perceived limitations, from the family, from the father, from the mother, from society, from injustice. Free yourself. Freedom is more important than air and water. I'd be willing to give up everything to have my freedom, right? This is the Ardra sentiment. But the second half of life, once you achieve that freedom, is to free others, however you choose to do it. Through technology, through work, through Shastra, whatever. The other, and the way the outsider achieves this dharma of freeing themselves and others is by fusing disparate traditions, different traditions together to create something new. By the way, you can read about this in my book, The 5 Dharma Types. The original book that I wrote, it took me 8 years to write that book, 8 years of study and research, not of old documents and libraries, but of life, observing how people act, observing their behaviors and the consequences of those behaviors, and the programs that make us do what we do. And so outsiders are programmed to, in essence, to wear many masks, but to eventually blend different traditions together, like the chef that said, hey, I like steak, but I also like sushi. Let's serve them on the same plate. And fusion cuisine was born. So sometimes the outsider inventions will create a whole new craze, a whole new thing, or they just won't work, but then you do something else. Your dharma is to make two traditions shake hands, to bring, yoga and market it in a certain way and create your own style of yoga. There's a million examples. A lot of them are in the book. And in fact, reading the chapter about the outsider is an upaya for Ardra Nakshatra. And not to, toot my own horn, but this book is really not written by me. This book came, in essence, to serve humanity in a real way. If I wanted to serve myself, I would have written a book about vampires and ghosts and fiction, but that's not my interest. I'm not interested in that. So reading about your dharma is an upaya, and whether you do it in my book or other books, or watching videos like this helps an Ardra person find their path. Okay. So a lot more about that in the 5 Dharma types, also Sex, Love, and Dharma, as well as my newest book, which is called The Dharma Method. And it's a very short book that summarizes 20 years of spiritual teachings. That's coming out pretty soon. All right, so the body level, the spirit level, and the environment level. Okay, now there are a million remedial upayas, right? And this is one I learned from Dr. Andrew Dutta. kpastrologeronline.com is his website. And this is a rather arcane one, but it involves taking mud that has been trod by elephants. So mud from under an elephant's foot. Obviously, be careful. You don't want to let the elephant go away, go to the zoo or however you're going to procure it and get that mud. Then find an abandoned water well. And at an auspicious time, when the moon is in Ardra or at another auspicious time, during twilight especially is a good time, since that is Rahu time. I'll talk about that in a second. Then offer that mud 108 times as you recite a Rahu Mantra. Which Rahu Mantra? Well, there is a book called Yoga of the Planets by Andrew Foss, where he lists the 108 mantras for each planet. They're the 108 names for each planet. And he explains how to find the one appropriate to you. We also talk about that in the class, Secrets of Sacred Sound. We go into depth on how to find your specific mantra. But it can even be something as simple as Om Ram Rahave Namaha, Om Ram Rahave Namaha, Om Ram Rahave Namaha, like that. basic Rahu Mantra. So elephant mud, find an abandoned well, preferably in a desert, dry, desolate place, and offer this mud, saying 108 repetitions. Now, again, this is best given, I'm not a guru, this is best given by your guru based on your horoscope. So please be careful, with stuff that's very specific like this. These things you can pretty much do, anytime if you have an Ardra affliction or a Rahu affliction. These next two are, you have to be a little more careful. So I mentioned that Rahu rules the twilight hours after sunset. Ketu rules the twilight hours before sunset. So for Ketu upaya, or to honor Ketu, you want to get up during Brahma Muhurta. And folks, it is in the Ashtanga Hridayam, which is one of the foundational, the Brihatri, the foundational texts of Ayurveda, in the first chapter that talks about what you're supposed to do. So not chapter 1, that's a summary. Chapter 1, Ragadirogan Satatanushattan, recites, basically summarizes Ayurveda. Chapter 2 begins, okay, how to live your life. The first thing they mention is get up at Brahma Muhurta, before sunrise. Why? Well, it has tremendous spiritual benefits. It creates sattva. I talk about it in the book, my latest book, The Dharma Method. There are tremendous benefits to it, both on the health level and the spiritual level. But getting up at that time, you honor Ketu. And it's a deeply spiritual time. But from sunset to the full loss of light, that's the Rahu time. And so be careful during that time. Don't drive like crazy. Don't do any crazy stunts or, knives or fire, things like that, or water, bungee jumping. If you have an Ardra affliction or a Rahu affliction in your chart, because that's the time that Rahu is in the planet or the city where you live, is between two worlds, between night and day. Anyway, I don't want to go too far into that. Summary, on the physical level, feed animals, feed a stray dog, or feed people who need you. Do it specifically, especially on the 6th pada day. On the environmental level, follow your Dharma. And to know your Dharma, follow specifically the outsider's Dharma, which is to become an innovator and blend two different traditions, and to have the courage to present them to the world. This is the thing. The ideas are there, but most outsiders lack the courage because they have anxiety. They have, no matter how much bluster they have in the world, inside they feel, oh my God, what if they don't understand me? Well, they may crucify you. Jesus was an outsider. The Buddha, even though born in a Kshatriya, in a warrior family, he was an outsider. And what outsiders do is they bring two traditions together. Jesus said, yes, we can take this spirituality, but also offer it to the Gentile, not just for us. He married two different cultures. So did the Buddha. Buddha said women can be nuns, right? Nobody owns spirituality. Nobody has a chokehold on the truth. It's for everyone. And that can get outsiders in trouble, those kind of radical ideas. Nonetheless, you still have to do it. And this is your upaya. Give that gift to the world. So for more questions, do refer to the 5 Dharma Types book. It's all in there. And read the Outsider chapter. And if you have other questions, put them in comment under the video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.